Hello, audience, and welcome back to another episode of the Human Paradox Podcast. Tonight, we will be reviewing WrestleMania 38, Night 2. As always, I am your co-host, Ben, and I'm joined by my co-host, Aaron. So, we finished the show about, 5 minutes ago, if that?
Yeah,
and
it's been about 5 minutes since the show ended where we are recording this. It won't get uploaded until a few hours later, but our thoughts are very fresh on it.
Very fresh.
Yeah.
Very opinionated show from both of us. I fully believe that this is definitely the best WrestleMania since WrestleMania 31 for sure. I'm not willing to rank it above WrestleMania 30 just yet, or 31 just yet. I'll have to rewatch it, see how I feel about everything tomorrow, see how they follow up on everything on Raw tomorrow night. But for WWE really doing a very poor job at leading into this year's WrestleMania, they did a phenomenal job with WrestleMania. I thought it was an amazing show. What about you?
So here's the thing, right? I do agree with you. It was an amazing show, but I wonder how much of that was due to excitement over the fact that I expected the show to suck. So the fact that it didn't and that it went above and beyond is making it stand out more
so
than...
So just like Crown Jewel last year where nobody cared, everybody thought it was going to be bad, and then it ended up being very good, so everybody thought it was like the greatest show of the year?
Yes.
Okay.
But I will say that... Again, like I said in the first part of the review, when WWE tries, it's not even a competition. They are the best in the world. And they showcased that yesterday, and they showcased that here tonight. Show was very good. Just like with the first show, there were a few things that I didn't like, but then again, I don't think there's ever been a perfect Mania where there hasn't been at least one thing that people didn't like about it, right?
Yeah, and even the things that I didn't really like aren't even bad.
No.
So... talking about WrestleMania as a whole with both nights, the only things that I just didn't... I mean, you and I were both into the women's tag team match. I thought it was very clearly the cool-down match of this show.
Yes.
But as a cool-down match, I thought it did its job fine. I thought it was great. People were invested in it for the most part. I think the ring gear from this match outshined everybody else.
The women's tag team match?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not entirely sure what Zelina Vega was cosplaying as. I don't know if...
I was looking on Twitter trying to see if anybody knew what cosplay that she was doing, but I couldn't find it. So I'm not sure
she looked really cool. Some sort of queen. I think it might be
Wonder Woman. You said?
Wonder Woman or Atlantis themed. I'm not entirely sure. But I know she's a huge nerd and loves cosplay, so it wouldn't surprise me.
If you watch the Royal Rumble, she cosplayed as Madara from Naruto, which is an anime, and she cosplayed as I don't know, she does a lot of cosplay, right?
Yeah. But I would say the weak points of this year's WrestleMania that we both thought were going to be the weak points going in were definitely the Johnny Knoxville match and would you say like the Logan Paul match? That's what we thought the weak points were going to be, and they both ended up being very, very entertaining. Very good, by the way. I honestly don't think this WrestleMania really had any weak points other than the build.
Yes.
Because the Charlotte match wasn't that bad. The tag team match yesterday could be thought of as the weak point, but, I mean, it ended because of an injury. So, I mean, that's not really that fair.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't even... The match the Rick Boog Shinsuke match lasted like maybe 8 minutes yesterday, and it ended due to an injury. So I honestly can just kind of forget about it. And in my head, I'll pretend like it was the pre-show, right? Like it didn't really affect the overall show for me that much. Yeah, I was like I said, I'm pissed off that he got injured due to a completely unnecessary dumb spot that made no sense, right? That makes me mad, but whatever. Right?
So, out of both nights of WrestleMania.
Night one's
obviously, we both think that night one's slightly better.
Yes, because the ending is the most important part, I believe, to a story.
Yeah,
and we'll get into it later.
Very satisfying ending on night one. Very satisfying ending on night two with the result, but the way that they got to the result.
Yeah,
I think it might have been due to time constraints.
Yes,
that was my opinion.
Well,
they clearly added another match to this card that wasn't supposed to be there because they cut it from yesterday's card, and. we were both talking about why didn't they have Finn Balor on the show or Ricochet on the show, and I can see it didn't matter what the match would have been. The match would have been great, but I don't think the show would have been better with those matches on the card. If they cut out like one of the celebrity matches, I think then they could have gotten away with it. But it flowed very well, and it didn't seem too long.
Well, yeah, and there's a really simple fix for that, and it's merge the two mid-card titles so that way you can fit that in somewhere on the show.
You could either merge the mid-card titles, or you could merge the women's titles and merge the tag team titles so that you still have the two mid-card titles, and then you only have one tag team division. It makes that division more stacked. But the other thing would be, well, how many mid-carders do they have that aren't doing anything? They have a lot. So if you have two titles, then you would have one specifically on SmackDown and one specifically on Raw.
I mean, that's...
Where one is only defended on SmackDown and one is only defended on Raw.
Well, that's the case right now. But Finn Balor isn't doing anything. Ricochet is doing a little bit more, but not much more, right?
Well, Ricochet, they both just won the belt. I don't think it's an excuse not to have them on the show. I think they should have been on the show, at least the pre-show. But that being said, I think the most over person from both nights of WrestleMania was actually Pat McAfee, not Cody Rhodes. And that's pretty crazy to think about. My favorite moment from WrestleMania was definitely the Cody Rhodes return and the match itself.
Yes.
But the way that these fans reacted to Pat McAfee tonight blew me away.
Yeah.
Not only, well, we'll talk about that when we get to the match, but I mean, would you agree with that? Do you think he was the most over person?
Over as in...
Over with the fans. Like, the fans loved him the most out of everybody.
It's hard to compare him to Cody in terms of
who
was more over. Yeah, it's hard to tell because so much of the Cody reaction was due to the build-up, whereas with the Pat, like we all know and love him and we've been with him for a while, so it was just the excitement of finally seeing him in the ring, I think. So I would say probably Pat, yeah.
Yeah.
But maybe for different reasons.
All right, so I remember you said something about...
You didn't... Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, you didn't take notes, did you?
No,
I was taking notes so that way we know the match lineups. You don't have to worry about
so
that.
you were saying midway through the main event, well, who do you think's going to come out and stare down with Roman? And I said Drew McIntyre because they've hinted at that's the next program, that Drew is going to be the number one contender, which makes sense because they've wanted to do Drew versus Roman for a long time. I might have preferred if they did that at WrestleMania instead of another Brock Lesnar match. Yeah, it definitely would have been a better match. I mean, that's not even a question. That would have been a better match. But you said, oh, really? Not The Rock?
Well, I only said The Rock because that was the widespread fan theory, that The Rock would stare him down, right?
Yeah, so Paul Heyman said in an interview that, because he was asked this specific thing, he's like, it was the Ariel Helwani, that's the guy that interviewed him. If any of our listeners want to go listen to it. And he was asked, will The Rock come out the next night on Raw so they can start the 1 year build to next year's WrestleMania? Similar to what they did with John Cena. And I 100% agree with Paul Heyman with his answer. He said, I mean, I'm not going to say if he is or isn't, but I don't think he should. And you'd think he would say that because that's what his character's, that's how his character is. But he's like, the second that we advertise next year's Mania is Roman Reigns versus The Rock. I mean, it's clearly that because it's in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And that's the only person the only legend that he hasn't faced yet.
Mm-hmm.
The second that they advertise that, literally everything that Roman does is null and void. It doesn't mean anything. Because, Drew McIntyre, Damian Priest, they're going to beat Roman Reigns for the title before The Rock gets to face him for the title? Or Cody Rhodes is going to beat him? No. So... hopefully they don't even tease The Rock. They can mention him in promos and stuff, but they don't tease the match until at least the Royal Rumble next year. In my opinion, if they're going for the title. If they're not doing it for the title, then I think he should face The Rock at they could build to that and then have him lose the title at SummerSlam to Cody Rhodes or something like that.
Yeah.
You and I both agree that Cody Rhodes should be the guy that beats him for the title, right?
I don't know.
I think it has to be Cody Rhodes.
I mean, I don't think that it necessarily has to be anybody. I don't think that it doesn't have to be any one set person, right? It's dependent.
I think if they do Cody Rhodes, it's a smart business decision, because then your guys like Wardlow, MJF, Jade Cargill, all of those people, Brian Cage, all of those people from AEW that are maybe thinking about jumping ship will have a reason to. Oh, Cody Rhodes jumped ship, and they immediately put the world title on him because he's Cody freaking Rhodes.
Yeah.
And he's being treated exactly the same that he's being treated here. Because right now the common thought is, oh, don't go to WWE because they'll mess up your character. So if they put the world title on Cody Rhodes, all of that will go away, and it would be a good business decision. Not to mention
here's the thing.
Not to mention the TV would be absolutely incredible because Cody Rhodes is great.
He would be. I'm not saying that I don't want to see him as champion, right? But your point doesn't really make much sense to me because you say that you make it sound as if they need to give Cody the belt.
Oh no, that's not what I'm saying.
And they don't need to at all. That whole mindset has already been shattered because like I said in the last episode, they kept everything about Cody so much so that they even had him rise up in a pillar of smoke like how he used to in AEW. It reminded me of fucking Scott Hall walking into WCW. Just everything about him was exactly the same. He was just now in WCW. They kept everything about Cody, and that to me shattered that mindset of WWE will change your character right away. He doesn't need the belt for that.
So a common argument I've heard for the point that I just made is, oh yeah, that's like putting the AEW tag team titles on the Hardy Boys just because that's the one that they haven't won yet, and it'll be more prestigious in their lineage.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think anybody really wants that, to be honest with you.
Not this early on.
But Cody Rhodes, I think, is a different story because he's still relatively young, and he deserves it. It's not that, oh, we're just going to put it on him because he's here now and that'll get us MJF. He deserves it, and he'll be able to be the face of this company easily. So, anyway, that's my little tirade going on early on. You want to go get started with the first match? Or you have anything to say about the pre-show?
I was going to say no, I don't, because there was something before our first match, which was Triple H.
Ah.
The Triple H. If assuming that you're just listening and that you're not looking, if you look at the video that's on YouTube right now, the thumbnail for this video, there is a pair of boots and a mic on there. Those are Triple H's boots because before any match started, Triple H welcomed the audience to WrestleMania. He walked out, and then he walked out in his suit, did the whole water spit thing, got in the ring. Did he give a speech? I don't remember him saying anything, right? He had his...
No, he just came out to thank the audience and say welcome to WrestleMania.
That's exactly what he said. He said, I just came out here to say thank you and to say welcome to WrestleMania. Placed his boots, his Triple H boots in the middle of the ring, placed the mic in front of them, and then a spotlight shined above the boots, and he walked out, and that was it. And that was all that it really needed to be.
It's so fitting. See, I love it when they do old school stuff like this. It's really upsetting to me that The Undertaker didn't get to leave his boots in the ring. Because he's probably, when you think old school, he's the most old school person. He literally has a move called old school.
Yeah.
And at WrestleMania 33, was it, that he faced Roman? I think that's the one. Yeah, and he took off his gloves and his jacket and he put that in the middle of the ring. And that was the end of The Undertaker. I wish everybody got to do that. And I'm really happy that Triple H got that. I'm really, really happy that Triple H's last two matches were against Batista and Randy Orton.
Yeah.
That's so fairy tale to me. You know what I mean? I mean, obviously it would have been better if he got to retire at WrestleMania. But the fact that his two last opponents were two of the guys that he made stars in this company. I love that.
Yeah.
And I really hope maybe he'll headline the Hall of Fame next year. I don't think he would put himself in the Hall of Fame. I think Vince would pretty much have to force him to be in the Hall of Fame. Technically, he's already in the Hall of Fame as a member of DX.
Technically,
yeah. I was thinking about like who's gonna headline the Hall of Fame next year. If Lesnar is done, he should 100% headline the Hall of Fame. If he's not done, then either Triple H or Batista should headline the Hall of Fame next year. That's just my 2 cents on it. Because Batista clearly said that he's done. He's never coming back to wrestle ever again.
Yeah. I mean, he's making a lot of money in Hollywood.
Well, no, he wanted Triple H to be his last match.
Oh, okay.
And he wanted Triple H to beat him.
Batista's a very He's a very smart wrestler.
Oh my God, yeah. He's a genius.
He made a great call on that.
So when he came back for WrestleMania 30, he wanted to come back as a heel.
Really?
He wanted to because first of all, he's a great heel.
Yeah.
Second of all, he watched the show and realized that if he's going to win the Royal Rumble, people are going to boo him because Daniel Bryan's awesome and everybody loves Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
So when he returned, he tried to convince Vince to make him a heel, and Vince wouldn't have it because he's Batista, and he's a Hollywood megastar, and he was the face of the company at one point. And then he ended up having to turn heel because everybody booed him anyway. He's a guy that reminds me a lot of Lashley with his ring psychology.
Yeah, if you don't know anything about me, I think that Lashley is like top 3 smartest wrestlers working nowadays, working in the current wrestling scene. His ring psychology is very good, and yeah, Batista reminds me a lot of him. But yeah, Triple H, he was my first ever favorite wrestler as a kid. I'm pretty sure that I still have my plastic action figure toy of him that I got when I was 12 somewhere in a storage box somewhere. Looked up to Triple H. He gave me my favorite wrestling match of all time. Made me fall in love with wrestling through that match. Like I said, he was one of my top 3 childhood heroes growing up. Very happy to see that they gave him the farewell treatment that he deserves. Wish him all the best.
Quick question to you, since you're such a big Triple H fan. Yes. Triple H is obviously going to be remembered in the same breath as a Dusty Rhodes for being a wrestler and being behind the scenes.
Yes.
And his contribution to both, he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame for both. For creating NXT and his... What do you think he should be remembered most for? Because I think helping others is such an integral part to his character. Not his character Triple H, like his actual human, like his character.
So here's the thing, right? This is not a Titus situation, right? You look at Titus and it's very easy to say, oh, okay, his wrestling is nowhere near compared to his charity work that he's done outside the ring, right? They're not even close. You look at Triple H and they are both equally monumental in building up this company from a developmental standpoint with NXT and from a frontlining perspective as being the face of the company, right? I would say that they have both done equal amounts of good for the company, right? NXT is kind of a moot point now because it's not really his product anymore. So we'll have to wait and see, right? And a lot of his stars are gone to AEW, right? But so I'm not going to pick one over the other just because they were both so... Because again, right, my favorite match of all time, the match that made me fall in love with wrestling is that match. So I don't feel comfortable saying that the NXT is more important.
I'm just saying, so like when I say Dusty Rhodes, I tend to think the management. That's what I think. He's the booker.
Yeah.
He created he created Starrcade, he created the War Games match. You know, he's an icon in this industry.
Yeah.
But he was also a wrestler. When I think wrestlers of that era, I think Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes. That's who I think of. But now, because we're so far removed from it, I tend to think more of him as a backstage guy because he helped so many people. I think that's how Triple H is going to be remembered in the long run.
Yeah, I mean...
As the guy behind the scenes. Because I honestly think he's going to take over for Vince.
If you ask me to be honest, I would say that his behind-the-scenes corporate work was more important and had a longer-lasting impact on the industry. But his in-ring work has meant more to me.
It's legendary,
Yeah.
And we'll talk a little bit more about this when we get to the Pat McAfee segment. But I do think... I honestly really... fully believe that Triple H is going to take over for Vince. I don't believe he's going to sell the company. I think he's going to take. I think Triple H is going to get it.
Yeah, we'll get into that now, or we'll get into that later. Yeah. But starting off, WrestleMania 38 Night 2 was the triple threat tag team match for the Raw Tag Team Championships, featuring the Street Profits, RK Bro, and Alpha Academy.
With Gable Steveson at ringside.
That's right. Gable Steveson was at ringside.
If you don't know who Gable Steveson is, he was the gold medalist in wrestling at this summer's Olympics, and he immediately was signed by WWE following his gold medal. He was at SummerSlam, and that was when he got signed, I believe.
Yes.
And he just defended his NCAA heavyweight title. I think this guy's going to be pretty good. If amateur wrestlers have anything to do in WWE, like they're normally really good. Kurt Angle was great. Chad Gable's great. I think he's got big shoes to fill, but I think he's going to be really good.
Yeah. Little notes that I made here. RK Bro, they had a brand new animation for entering the ring. Normally, it's just the snake that's like 3D, but they added a new green snake wearing an RK Bro hat.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
And it was hissing back and forth with the Randy Orton snake, like they were like arguing about something, which I thought was funny.
Mm-hmm.
And Alpha Academy, I think it's new, but they added a new addition to their theme where it's like a dubstep techno-y shush from Chad Gable that goes on for like 5 seconds, and then their theme started.
Yeah, it was really funny.
That was really cool.
What did you think of this match?
I thought it was awesome.
I also thought it was awesome.
This was a great way to start off the show, right? It's a match that's not, in the grand scheme of things, not that important, right? It was mostly meant to just hype up the crowd, right? Like, it was important, but not that important, you know? No one...
Randy Orton was so hyped for this match. You could tell. Every time he got tagged, the crowd went nuts, and he was just, like, psyching himself up on the outside of the apron.
Yeah.
Out of all of the matches throughout WrestleMania, this is probably my favorite finish.
What was the finish again?
So, Montez Ford was on the top rope, and then Riddle jumped up, RKO'd him up the top rope, and then Gable jumped off the top rope, and Orton
That's right.
RKO'd him off. Yeah. I mean, it's WrestleMania, and Randy Orton's there, so you have to have some sort of cool RKO spot.
Mm-hmm.
Little things in this match that just blew me away. Every single time that Montez Ford does that thing where he like jumps over the turnbuckle.
Yep.
It blows my mind.
That's right. I made a little note here that just says Montez Ford can fly and nobody can convince me otherwise because he...
Yeah, he did a blockbuster off the top rope too.
Yep.
And he jumped so high that his prone body, he could have been standing on top of Chad Gable's head. That's how high he jumped.
I don't know if Kevin Owens has ever delivered a stunner to Montez Ford. I'll have to look it up, but if he hasn't, I want to see that happen because I want to see just how I want to see how high that he would bounce from a stunner.
We're definitely going to have a debate on who takes the stunner the best.
It's not even a competition. It's Rock. It's Austin Theory.
The Rock. Shane takes a good one. Scott Hall took a good one.
Austin
Theory took a great one.
It's Austin Theory. That's my answer. The dude got 10 feet of air tonight.
Pat McAfee took it pretty good.
Pat McAfee took it realistically, but I don't want to see a realistic stunner cell. I want to see an over the top dude goes flying.
Well, every time the Rock took the stunner, he literally like
convulsed.
He convulsed and threw himself all over the ring.
I also like Santino's where he saluted.
Yeah, and then Shawn Michaels always did it pretty good too.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, Montez Ford. Everybody in this match was great. I feel like I wouldn't say that this is Gable's best performance in a match, but this was by far the best Otis match, I think, because Otis looked like a complete monster in this match.
Oh yeah, no. So we were talking about this during the match. This Otis is 100% believable as a heavyweight killer, and if they would have done this with his character when he had the Money in the Bank, honestly, I would have been totally fine if he won the world title.
And you asked me, do you want to see Otis as World Heavyweight Champion? And I said only if he has somebody to speak for him, which he does right now.
Yeah, if Gable talks for him, I'd be totally fine with that. The only thing is, would it be a joke? That's the thing. Because I don't like it when the world title was a joke.
With Gable,
so like when the Miz had it, it was he made it very prestigious, but it was he was a joke champion. You know what I mean?
He had it for 2 weeks.
Yeah. So I don't want.
It might have been. I mean, yeah, probably, but no. This Otis looked like a complete beast in this match. He always looks like a beast, but he's such an intimidating looking dude.
And for all of those people that I told you this earlier too, for all those people that were really mad that they broke up, not Alpha Academy,
Otis.
So they broke up Heavy Machinery just to like make a new tag team. I don't think Heavy Machinery ever would have made it onto the WrestleMania card. Chad Gable. So American Alpha, I was very mad when they broke those guys up because Jason Jordan is awesome.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he had to retire. Who knows? Maybe someday he'll come out of retirement. That'd be pretty cool. But before they even broke them up, they did that whole gimmick with him being Kurt Angle's son, which never made any sense to me because if you're gonna have anybody be Kurt Angle's son, it should be the guy who was in the Olympics and is a total dork just like him, a.k.a. Chad Gable. I don't know why they did it with Jason Jordan. But after they broke them up, he just kind of fell down the card. He was at a tag team with Bobby Roode for a little while. They won the titles. And then they did the whole Shorty G thing. I'm so happy to see him in a title match at WrestleMania. And I'm happy that they finally figured out Otis. It's just so... It's so great to see these guys having a good time.
I never want to see Otis and Gable split up.
Oh yeah, I don't ever want to see them split up, and I never want to see the Street Profits split up.
No, and I don't think that they will.
Yeah. Like, and I also, so it's a couple of tag teams I don't want to ever see split up are the Usos, the Street Profits, the New Day, and Alpha Academy.
Yeah.
Even like you could even put the world title on Montez Ford as long as they keep the Street Profits together. I'd be totally fine with it.
And it's looking like they're gonna form their new faction because after this match concluded, the Street Profits got in to stare down RK Bro. Looked like they were gonna start beef, but then you noticed that Montez Ford is holding a stack of solo cups, and he handed all four of the members, the two tag teams, they each had a cup, and they were all getting ready to celebrate the match.
And then they
said, wait a minute, Gable, get in here, right? And then Gable gets in, he gets the cup, they're all getting ready. And then out of nowhere, I have no idea where he slipped in. Chad Gable comes in and smacks the cup out of Gable Stevenson's hand.
Yeah.
And then we get a little impromptu match between him and Gable. Or it wasn't a match.
As soon as they stared each other down, this crowd went absolutely nuts.
Oh yeah.
Because both of these guys were in the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously we've never seen Gable Stevenson wrestle a professional wrestling match before, but everybody knows he's going to be good.
Yeah.
And Chad Gable was amazing. I really hoped that these guys have a actual match at some point in the future, in the near future, because it's going to rock.
I could see Gable Stevenson either joining Alpha Academy because Chad Gable is impressed by him and he's like, hey man, you beat me, you should join us, or joins the Street Profits. I could see either one of those happening.
Yeah, I don't think the Street Profits really need him. But my only thing is if they make him join the Street Profits, then they would push him as the singles guy and the Street Profits would be the tag team, which is fine. But I mean, who deserves it more? Montez Ford deserves to be the Universal Champion. Like, come on.
His match against Roman
was amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, hot open, definitely better than yesterday's opener. Not anybody's fault, but
Well, I mean,
I loved this match. This was one of the best tag team matches I've seen at Mania since probably Triple H and Stephanie versus Ronda Rousey and Kurt Angle.
I gave this match an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I thought it was.
That's what I'm sticking with.
Yeah, that seems about right to me. It was great.
Very good match. None of the spots felt unnecessary, right? Every out of the ring jumping spot felt like it made sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Montez Ford always jumps out of the ring, so you have that happening, and then Gable's like, oh, okay, well, since they're all knocked down and they're getting up, I'll do that too. Like it made sense.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing stupid that happened in the match. I didn't think.
Yeah.
And even if there was, it fit the characters that it would happen to, like Riddle or
yeah. The right team definitely won.
Which was RK Bro. Yeah.
My only question is, what do they do next? Obviously, people are going to look ahead and say, well, when are they going to break up RK Bro? Because that's probably going to be the match at SummerSlam. Those two go.
I think that they could save it for Mania.
I think they should save it for Mania, next year's WrestleMania. But unless they merge the tag team divisions, I don't see. I mean, they could bring Imperium up and they could face Imperium. That would be pretty good. Actually, that would be really good. And Matt Riddle has history with Imperium because he had that match with MSK down in NXT. So that's a total possibility. But I really want him to face the Usos and unify the tag team titles. Yeah. I think that would just be the best thing they could possibly do. Unify all the titles and kill the brand split.
Next match. Do you know what it was?
It was in the Knoxville match, wasn't it?
No. So you don't even remember it. That's not a good sign.
Oh, it was the Omos match.
Yes, it was.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Omos and Bobby Lashley. Did they even do an entrance for Omos? I don't remember his music playing.
No, so that was when...
Was that when we fast forwarded?
We fast forwarded it.
Yeah, because we were like 5 minutes behind. Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah, Omos versus Lashley.
It wasn't terrible. And I wouldn't even say it was bad, but it wasn't good.
No.
It was a very there match.
I would say
it was by far the worst match in WrestleMania this year.
I was gonna say, yeah, it was the worst match in WrestleMania, but it was still a 6.
And Lashley tried so hard to save this match from being dog shit.
It was still a 6 for me.
Yeah,
despite the fact that it was the worst match in Mania.
He tried so hard to save this match from being total dog shit. He was bumping all over the place. I swear to God, I thought he was gonna hit a moonsault to beat him, but he beat him with a spear, of course.
I have nothing to say about this match other than that I'm tired.
I have nothing to say about this match other than they need to take Omos off of television, either figure something else out for him, or fire him.
I'm tired.
That's a bit harsh too.
Might go on a rant. I don't know. I'll see where I
go ahead.
I'll see where I feel when I talk about this. But I am tired of wrestlers whose entire character and gimmick is just I'm really big and really tall, and I'm a freak of like.
List some of these wrestlers. So we got Omos, you got Shanky, and you got Dabba-Kato, not Dabba-Kato, what's his name now? Fucking Commander Aziz.
Commander Aziz, there was the Great Khali. Yeah. Braun Strowman is a good example of it, right?
Well, Braun Strowman was actually a character.
That's what I'm...
and he could actually wrestle.
That's what I'm getting at. People like Andre, people like Braun Strowman, right?
Like Andre wasn't even that good of a wrestler. He had a character.
They're big guys. Freaks of nature, and they incorporate this into their moveset and their character, but that's not all that their character is. You look at Omos, what can you... Name me one characteristic of Omos other than that he's big and that he screams a lot. I don't think you could do it. He's just a big hulking guy who hits people once and then the match is over. He has no character.
Oh, I get scared he's going to rip the ropes off every single time he hits the ropes.
Yeah, like he doesn't...
He's huge.
Well, number one, he doesn't know how to wrestle. He's not a good wrestler.
And see, I didn't mind him when he was with AJ Styles. I actually really liked him when he was with AJ Styles because he was used very, very, very sparingly.
Yeah.
When AJ Styles before they were a tag team and he was just like his enforcer, I thought he was super cool. Because, like, I remember that one time John Morrison hit him with the chair and the chair broke.
That was awesome.
Right? And the one time where he punched a hole in the Elimination Chamber and pulled AJ Styles out of it so he could enter early.
Yeah.
Like, that was all cool. And even their WrestleMania match last year against the New Day was good. But I just... Also, what is with the New Day losing at WrestleMania? Because I've noticed that as a trend.
We'll get to that.
We'll get to that. But
yeah, that's all that I'll... Like, the match was fine, but it was only fine because Lashley is so damn good at wrestling that he made Omos look the best that he's ever looked. But dear God, I either don't ever want to see Omos on my television ever again, or I want to see him go to developmental and figure something out because I am so tired of I am big and tall and that's my character because WWE...
And when he does talk, I can't understand what he says.
Because WWE, it's not the 80s anymore. I want an actual character. I don't just want a big hulking guy, right? I want a story. But yeah, 6 out of 10. Best match that Omos has had, but that's not saying much.
Oh, by far.
It's not saying much. The next...
What do you think they do with Lashley next? Do you think they...
I want to see him versus Roman.
I want to see him versus Roman too, but I don't know if he's going to go right after Roman. I feel like he's got unfinished business.
What about Gable Stevenson?
No, I think he has unfinished business with Brock Lesnar before he goes after Roman. Because Lesnar just loses his title, they can have a number one contenders match at Backlash.
Yeah.
And then Lashley can either beat him. I don't want to see Brock Roman ever again.
No.
I think this should be the last time they ever do it.
No.
Because then it won't be special.
I made the point to you like 2 weeks ago watching SmackDown where I said, man, this Roman-Brock feud is really running on fumes. Like there is nothing else that they could say in a promo or nothing else that they can do in a segment to make this feel more important than it already was.
I mean...
It needs to end now.
Bobby Lashley was WWE champion for the majority of the year last year.
Yeah.
And he was... by far the most protected guy in the entire company.
Yeah.
I would argue he was protected even more than Roman because he never cheated.
He never really cheated.
He never
A, cheated, B he never had to resort to a cheat move like the guillotine, right?
Yeah, and he looked like a freaking monster all the time.
Yeah.
I'd like to see him versus Brock Lesnar one more time. But if they do Brock Lesnar versus Lashley again, then Lesnar's gonna win. So, and I don't think they would do that at a B-level pay-per-view like Backlash either.
Lashley was great, like always. Love Lashley, and I can't wait to see more of him. I'm glad that he's back. I'm glad.
Do
that
you
he's
agree
not
with Polana that he's one of the greatest WWE champions of all time?
No.
No.
I don't. He was a fantastic champion. He's not one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah, I think so too.
No. Next match. This is the one that you said. This was the Johnny Knoxville, Sami Zayn, anything goes match. And all that I will say before I talk about this match is that this is not a wrestling match, and that's a good thing, because if the Royal Rumble was any indication, it's that Johnny Knoxville has no idea how to wrestle and had no intentions of ever learning how to wrestle, right? That whole bit where AJ Styles did the phenomenal, what's it called? The phenomenal
forearm?
No. He did.
Oh yeah, that you take the little combination thing.
Whatever AJ's little combination is, where he elbows and kicks and slams them forward is, right? He was doing that, and then Johnny
did it for real on him.
Well, he did all that to him, and Johnny just stood there in one place, flailing his shoulders back and forth, and it looked ridiculous. Right? It didn't look, he wasn't selling it. And so AJ said, all right, fine, I'll just hit you for real. And he really knocked him down. And then Sammy really kicked him. And the same thing happened a few weeks later on SmackDown. Sammy really haluva kicked him like 3 times because he didn't sell the first time. So it was very obvious that, okay, Johnny, whether or not he's just not good at it, right? I don't know if they were training him or not,
He's
right?
old and out of shape.
He could not wrestle. He could not sell. So they said, all right, then we're gonna meet Johnny at his level. We're not gonna do a wrestling match featuring Johnny Knoxville. We're gonna do a Jackass episode featuring Sami Zayn.
Honestly, I think that was the whole appeal of the match to begin with when they were advertising it, because everybody knew. I mean, he's the Jackass guy. He's been hit by a bull. He's been shot by the police defense, like Claymore shit.
Yeah.
He can take a couple haluva kicks to the face and just get up.
Yeah.
So I think that was the thing I was excited for. Is like, oh man, you may say wrestling's fake, but this match is going to be 100% real because they're actually going to beat the shit out of Johnny Knoxville.
Yeah. So
thank God it wasn't just that.
So I'm not going to call this a match. I'll call it a segment, and this segment was perfect. Well, not the only thing that could have made it. So it wasn't just Johnny, right? The entire Jackass cast got in there
minus Steve-O.
Which that would have made it perfect, but whatever. And it makes sense, right? The entire Jackass crew, they would have got in there to help them, which is what happened, right? For the first 10 minutes or so, Sammy's kicking his ass. The only way that Johnny can hold his own is by spraying him with a fire extinguisher, which only would ever briefly stop him, right?
Yeah.
Until eventually, Chris
comes in.
Chris Panidis gets in there, party boy. He's wearing his bow tie. He's wearing a shirt and pants, and you're just sitting there going, "Is he gonna do it? Is he gonna do it?" And then finally, he rips off the pants, rips off the shirt. He's wearing his little thong. And he starts dancing on Sammy. Sammy's pissed off, right?
Sammy he ran to the turnbuckle and was terrified of this man.
Yeah, it's Chris Panidis. I'd be terrified too. But yeah,
I've seen his dick way too many times.
I feel like 40% of Jackass Forever is Chris Panidis' dick.
Yeah,
honestly,
and Steve-O's dick.
So yeah, Chris Panidis party boy gets in there, saves Johnny Knoxville, is dancing on him. Sammy takes him out, goes to get a table. And then we see Wee Man come out.
Wee Man beats the shit out of Sami Zayn.
Wee Man, fucking Andre the Giant style. It was like a reverse Andre the Giant
he power slammed him.
He power slammed Sami Zayn, and then Sami Zayn haluva kicked this short little this short little 70-pound midget, and it was hilarious. And then did the rest of the Jackass cast come out at that point?
No. So Sami Zayn pulled a table with mouse traps.
That's right. There was a table with mouse traps.
Yeah.
That wasn't until the end, though. This entire match.
What was your favorite spot of the match before we go to the end?
If this part sounds very uncoordinated, I apologize, but so much crazy shit happened in this match. They honestly might put this match on YouTube for free pretty soon because it was just.
I feel like they would.
It was nonstop Jackass shenanigans, fire extinguishers, air horns, stun guns.
There was a bowling ball where
there was a point where Johnny Knoxville picked up 2 trash can lids and hit either side of Sami Zayn's heads, Tom and Jerry style. You know, Jerry's head like flattened and he'd rattle. They did that a few times.
The fake leg that kicked Sami Zayn in the balls.
There was a leg contraption where Johnny Knoxville hit a lever and a little plastic leg hit him in the nuts.
And then the big hand.
That's right. That's right. They had the famous whipped cream slapping hand that would knock over the people when they would bring in like trays of soup or whatever. They had everything. And, all the way up until... Oh, and before I go any further, Johnny Knoxville's wrestling attire.
Oh, it was great.
I made the comment to you during it. He looks like a giant Kit Kat bar. Like, it's just red and white, and he's wearing goggles, and he looks so stupid. But I kind of like it. I don't know. But the finale to the match, yeah, like you said, Sammy got probably 15 feet of air, jumped off the back right turnbuckle onto a table
full of mouse traps.
And you and me just jumped and were like, "Holy shit!" Because he looked like he fucking died.
Yeah.
And then they dragged him into the ring, pulled out a giant man-sized mousetrap, activated it, had the mousetrap bar pin his shoulders down so that way Johnny could pin him. In the final 5 minutes of this segment where the whole Jackass cast celebrating, while you just see Sammy in the background struggling to get out of the fucking mousetrap. I love this whole quote unquote match. I thought that for what this
is definitely awesome. Not the best celebrity match because
Logan
you could argue it was Logan Paul, Bad Bunny, even Pat McAfee.
Yeah.
But this was by far the most entertaining segment I've ever seen on WrestleMania.
Oh yeah.
Ever. Mm-hmm. And that includes to me the Firefly Funhouse match.
Here's the thing, right? I understand people who get mad at WWE because they say, I watch this to watch wrestling, not to watch sports entertainment. This is stupid. I want to see wrestling. If you watch this match with a stone face and don't laugh, and if you don't admit that it was a little bit funny or fun to watch, like I don't know what to tell you, dude. You just don't like fun, I guess, because I went into this match wanting to hate it. I was like, this is gonna be so fucking stupid. Johnny's not gonna sell anything, and I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was awesome.
So I don't even see sports entertainment ever as a negative anymore.
Because
WWE sometimes when they're on their shit, they produce the best professional wrestling in the world.
Yeah,
and they produce the best sports entertainment, quote unquote, in the world.
Yeah, a lot of shit. But a lot of people, particularly the AEW fanboys, do have a problem with that. And I understand that when it's done in the wrestling matches. Like, I don't want to see my championship match be sports entertainment.
Yeah.
But if you very clearly have a match called Johnny Knoxville, Anything Goes match, that segment is very clearly sports entertainment. The KO show last night, that was very clearly, this is sports entertainment. This isn't a real fucking match, right? This is just to entertain you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very clear. If you keep it segmented, it's awesome, right? And like I said, if you watch this and are just, oh, fuck WWE, sports entertainment, it's stupid. I don't want to laugh. I want to watch real wrestling. It's like, dude, I don't know what to tell you, man. Fucking smile. It was funny. All right? It was funny.
I don't think I laughed more ever watching wrestling than tonight.
Yeah.
There's two segments. There's this segment, and then there's a segment that we'll get to later on in the night that I just died laughing.
This was an 8 out of 10 segment for me.
I agree.
8 out of 10, yeah.
A lot of 8 out of 10s.
Only thing that would have made it better was if the entire Jackass cast came out, like I said, Steve-O, and also there was a few botches where the mousetrap didn't activate at first. They had to get in there and fix it, and it kind of hit Johnny doing it. And also the leg thing buckled a little bit. Just little,
it's little shit.
Little things here and there, and Steve-O wasn't there. And I would have liked to see even more carnage, but other than that, fantastic match.
Yeah, I agree.
And you know the next match? Next match is the women's tag team match. Naomi and Sasha Banks.
I think this match, not only did they have, everybody in this match had the best ring gear of all of WrestleMania, I would argue, collectively as a match, this was the most entertaining entrance segment. So, Cody's entrance was awesome. Edge's entrance was amazing. It's funny. But
It's funny you say that. I thought that I was alone in writing this down in my notes, but Naomi's whole rave entrance looked so fucking good on that stage with the big X behind her and all the lights going off and all the people.
Yeah, and everybody had the glow sticks.
Her entrance looked awesome, and then it got even better because Sasha Banks
drove a
fucking Lambo up, and her and Naomi were partying it, heading up to the top of the ramp. And not only that, but Liv and Rhea did Batman cosplay.
Batman and Catwoman.
Not only that, but Carmella was wearing an awesome dress. The closest that I would compare it to.
Her and Corey Graves were both dressed in white.
But Carmella's dress, it was like a peacock, where it was a super long tail of white dress, right? Like she was dragging at least 5 pounds of cloth with her. And Selena, like we said, did this very weird...
Zelina Vega. Yeah.
Zelina Vega did this very weird cosplay where I don't think it was based on anything. It looked
freaking awesome.
It looked like a cross between Wonder Woman, Atlantis, Lord of the Rings. I don't know what it was, but it was awesome.
Yeah, it was really, really cool.
Really cool. And then...
And then Natty and
Natty and
Shayna
Shayna were
Baszler,
okay.
yeah, they were the wrestlers in this
This
match.
And
Yeah.
I never want to see Shayna do fucking Batman cosplay. Shayna Baszler hurts people.
Oh, she hurt people in this match. Don't worry.
I never want to see her come out doing goofy Batman cosplays.
Yeah,
so
I'm just begging you, WWE. Can we please next year get Shayna Baszler back in the main event scene, because I'm tired of seeing her in a whole bunch of just random tag teams.
I will say Sasha Banks looked amazing. Her ring attire and her fucking hair, the way that it was
cool.
blue and then it faded into
Green.
neon green, which is Naomi's color.
Yeah.
And just she looked fantastic. Her and Naomi's whole color scheme of the blue and the green mixing. I like that. They need to keep.
Well, I like that all the tag teams wore matching ring attire for WrestleMania.
That's right. Yeah.
And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. The match itself.
I thought it was fine.
Yeah, it was okay. It was pretty good.
I don't think anybody really cared, but the fans were definitely into the match, and they did. You know what match this reminded me of? This reminds me of pretty much every big gaggle fuck a women match that they have at WrestleMania. They always do the same types of spots. So they always do a Tower of Doom spot. They always do there's two people in the ring. One person hits their signature move, and then another person goes into the ring, and then hits their signature move, and the person that just hit their signature move, until everybody is done with it. But I mean, it was fine. Rhea Ripley looked like a freaking boss for most of this match.
That's right. There was a really funny segment where Zelina went for the pin, and rather than break it up, Rhea just grabs her by the shoulder and just carries her like she's nothing.
Just throws her out of the ring.
Not slowing down at all, just carries her over to the corner and puts her there as if to say, "Stay there, I'm gonna go get the pin." Right?
Zelina did a very awesome moonsault out of the ring too.
That she did.
That was really cool. Yeah. You and I both wish this. We wish that the women's tag team titles actually meant something.
Yeah.
And there's a very easy way to make them mean something. Make actual tag teams and hire more women.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that not a single women's tag team that came out to wrestle tonight, not a single one of them had A, a tag team name, or B, a tag team theme song. Yeah. They all came out as their own names with their own.
You see, at the beginning of the year, we had Shotzi Blackheart and Tegan Nox, and they were awesome. And they were the number one contenders for the tag titles and never got their tag team shot. And then they fired Tegan Nox, and Shotzi Blackheart has been nowhere on TV for the past couple months.
Yeah. Her and Xia Li, they're in the back room playing checkers or something. I don't know what they're doing.
And I find it really interesting because the NXT women's division is smaller than Raw and SmackDown collectively, but they make their tag team titles actually feel important. Yeah. And I don't know if it's because the match quality is better, or they actually give them time on TV to actually make them relevant. But they either need to completely get rid of them or actually fix them. There's no excuse for Raw to be 3 hours long and us to just not give a shit about championship titles.
Yeah.
And that goes twofold for the US title, the Raw and SmackDown women's title. There's no excuse for it. You have 3 hours to fill on Monday night. You can fill that easily with a good wrestling match and stories.
Very easily.
Yeah.
This match, to me, the best way that I can summarize this match is, did you watch the opening tag team match with the men? It was that, but it was a little bit worse, right? So
and there were girls in it.
Yeah, it was that, but it had women in it, and it was worse, not because they're women, but just the match quality.
I will say this: I really, really, really appreciate. So it was a fatal 4-way tag team match. I really appreciate that they read the rules of the match before the match happened.
Yeah,
because in this match, they were only allowed to have 2 people in the ring at once, not 4 or 3.
Yeah.
Okay, so I appreciate that they read the rules.
Before I forget it, I just want to say Corey Graves needs to calm down. Otherwise, he's going to get fired one day. He was like 2 words away from just blurting out, "I'm going to fuck my wife after the show," right? He said everything that could possibly be to interpret that without just flat out saying, if my wife wins tonight, which was Carmella, then I'm fucking her, right? It was I was on Twitter. Everybody on Twitter was going, "Whoa, Corey, you need to calm down. You're on commentary, all right?"
Make sure you tune into their YouTube show They debut new episodes every Monday.
It was also funny because Carmella took the pin, and after she lost, there was a shot of Corey Graves wearing his white tuxedo and his little red bow tie,
and he was like crying,
and his mouth was like wide open. I love Corey Graves; it was funny. But Corey, if you're listening to my podcast, because I know that you would, if you're listening to the podcast, then calm down.
Oh, we love Corey Graves.
No, I do.
I can't wait for Corey Graves.
I don't want him to be fired. That's why I'm saying calm the fuck down.
I can't wait for Corey Graves to return to the ring.
Mm-hmm.
I loved Corey Graves in NXT. You would like him too. We'll come back and watch some of his matches. He was a very submission-based classic heel. Like, he was great. I love him.
I'm giving this match a 7 out of 10, but it's like a low 7.
Yeah, I'd give it a 6 or a 7. This was very clearly.
I'm only giving it a 7 because I gave Omos and Lashley like a low 6, and I don't want it to be categorized with that match because this match was good. It just wasn't as good as the men's tag team match.
Yeah, it was the dedicated cool down match, and you could tell, and that's fine. I think it was at the perfect spot on the card, honestly.
Yeah, and it was the cool down match for a match that definitely needed it because if this match had followed the Knoxville one, like, the fans would have been so burnt out, which was the AJ Edge match.
Yeah.
Before the match even started, AJ was bleeding.
I don't know why.
I'm not talking like oh, okay, he popped his zit. There's like a little blood. No, like he was like
it looked like he picked a scab. To me, that's what it looked like.
The point in between his eye and his ear on like the right side of his face, it was like dripping blood. And even the announcers made a call. They're like, wow, look at that, AJ already bleeding before the match even begins. And it's like, are we going to get an explanation why? And we just did. I don't know. I thought it was weird. I thought that like maybe they were going to show a video of like maybe Edge punched him backstage or something, but no, it just was never explained. It was okay. It was
so
cool.
I was of the opinion before the match happened, I really wanted AJ Styles to win because AJ hasn't won a match on pay-per-view since Money in the Bank, which was in July.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's clearly one of the best wrestlers in the world.
Mm-hmm.
You tend to think they're going to do like a best of 3 series. I agree with that with him and Edge. So he'll eventually win a match. But
I think that what's going to happen.
Yeah, after the finish of the match, I'm glad that Edge won because of what happens. So let's talk about the match and then we'll talk about the end of the match.
Well, before we even talk about the match, Edge's entrance.
Yeah,
They had I don't know what they are doing with Edge's character and this clique that he is creating. I don't want to say that it has culty vibes to it, but his entrance had culty vibes because they had him on a throne that was on a pedestal. It looked like a little mini.
So it was like his Brood entrance, but he rose in a throne chair instead of just standing.
Well, it wasn't just him rising from the ground. He rose from the ground in a chair on top of like a little mini ziggurat temple-looking thing that had fire all around it, and he was wearing all black, sunglasses, sitting on the chair.
And then they start blaring Alter Bridge and
then as the chorus began, Edge stood up and with that fire was all around him as he stood up around the chair. And it was so fucking cool. It was so...
I love that for those of you who don't know, Edge is my favorite wrestler like of all time. So I'm very critical of slight changes to his character. And I loved everything he's done so far. From the blue lighting when he cuts his promos, the way that he cuts his promos reminds me a lot. I don't know if you remember this. So like when Jericho came back and started wearing the suit and calling everybody parasites. Do you remember that version of Chris Jericho?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is what this reminds me of. But just it's slightly different, and I love that he got rid of everything that resembles the rated R superstar on his ring gear.
He's doing some kind of lawyer thing because he did that promo where he had the scale, and I don't know if you noticed, but on his wrestling attire he had a purple scale that like the lawyers do, right?
You know what?
What?
I just thought of it. So spoilers for the show Moon Knight if you haven't seen it at all yet.
Okay.
But that main villain of Moon Knight, that's what it reminds me of with the scale. He's like cult leader that maybe he's like trying to weigh people's souls.
What if he's trying because he made the point, I am the best wrestler in this company. What if he's trying to weigh people in matches to see if they're worthy to be in his company or not? And if they're not, then he fucking kills them to get them out, right?
I don't know.
Like how we do with AJ in the chairs, right? You've been playing bitch to Omos for 2 years. You're not worth my time. You're not worthy of being in this company. Hits him. Get out of here.
Yeah, only time will tell what his character is supposed to be. I wish we would get more Because his promos haven't really described his character other than like he's really cocky and he's better than everyone.
They've been very vague, which I like. It's really creepy, unsettling. He's obviously.
We need less promo work and more like backstage vignettes to figure out his character.
But I like that they're keeping that consistent, where the scale is something that he's going to keep with him. He also had like skulls on his knee pads, which was new, and
I think
he was wearing purple ring attire.
I think his ring attire was a tribute to the Undertaker.
He was wearing purple ring attire.
Yeah. So if you notice he had on one side of his tights, it was the scale, like the law scale. On the other side, it was a skull, and it looked like flames were rising from the skulls, but it actually wasn't flames. It were people. It was hams with arms and souls.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
So either that's part of his character, that he's weighing people's souls like the guy in Moon Knight, or it was a tribute to the Undertaker. I'm tempted to believe it was a tribute to the Undertaker because it was purple, and that's a thing that he's done in entrances before, where people are like reaching for him. So I don't know, but holy shit, his new song. I love his new song so much. The Other Side by Alter Bridge. Yeah.
I was really expecting the Altered Bridge to be there to play it. There was not a single live song performance tonight, which I thought was kind of weird. If there was any person to do it for,
it would have been Edge, yeah.
Yeah.
That's normally a staple at WrestleMania. Like they even got Code Orange to play the Fiend to the ring.
Exactly.
I think.
I'm only tracking Bray at WrestleMania 30 that they got.
Actually, I don't. I'm pretty sure they didn't play the Fiend to the ring last year.
No, maybe we'll have to look into that. But this.
Oh no. So they played Code Orange was the guy that they wrote Aleister Black's theme song. They played him to the ring before.
Oh, okay.
Not at WrestleMania. It was at Takeover, but
okay.
Yeah.
This match was really brutal.
It was hard to watch. Edge took a lot of.
I really got the vibe that like these guys are like every single move looked like it fucking killed the other person.
Yeah, so this reminded me of when I was in Iraq and watching the Royal Rumble, that was when Edge returned. And I was so overjoyed and so happy and hyped to see him. And then the first move that he took was a deep six from Baron Corbin. And that scared the shit out of me. And I was like, oh my God, he's dead. Like, he can't take a move like that. That's how I felt. I was on the edge of my seat for most of this match because AJ Styles was literally banging his head into the steel steps. And, I worry that a lot of these matches are going to take years off of Edge's life. I really do worry about that. But at the end of the day, like, anything that he does in a match is his decision.
Yeah.
And he's probably the guy that's calling the match in the first place. So he's not going to do anything that he knows for a fact he can't do.
Yeah, I didn't write down any spots that I noticed because pretty much every single move and spot looked like it hit really, really hard. Probably the most notable for me being AJ's known for doing the slide into the middle turnbuckle where he headbutts it, but on top of
this match that was brutal.
But on top of him sliding into it, Edge sidestepped and then shoved him into it also, and he fucking hit that.
Yeah, it was like a Bret Hart turnbuckle bump.
He hit it really hard. Yeah, they hit each other. Very brutal match. So
I made a pretty apt comparison in my opinion.
What's that?
Of this match. So last night, it was really cool to see the guy from the other company come back to WWE and face the current face of the company. That was the technical face. So like if John Cena was, or if Roman Reigns is the actual face of the company, Seth Rollins is the best worker.
Yeah.
Growing up, John Cena was the face of the company, but Edge was the best worker. He was the fans' favorite wrestler, right? He was the heel. He was that guy. Cody Rhodes comes back. He's the guy from the other company. He's the other best wrestler out there in the world, and he has a match with Seth Rollins. Growing up, the one wrestler that you hear about from all of these other promotions was AJ Styles. So that's why this match was so cool. And I just thought that was really cool that they kind of paralleled each other. They were at the same spot on the card. They were the longest matches on either night. That's
right. This was the longest match, I think.
Yeah.
Unless you want to count the whole McAfee section as like.
Oh no, that's a segment. That's not really.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I loved this match. I can't wait to see the rematch because they're definitely going to do a rematch. Yeah. But the ending to this match was really cool because AJ Styles hits the phenomenal forearm. He hits the Styles Clash. And then he goes on the outside to get ready to do the phenomenal forearm again. And when he jumps, or when he's hanging on the apron, he looks to his side, and there you see Damian Priest, who looked awesome.
He's got a lot more facial hair and stubble. He's got a slightly different hairstyle, way different ring attire. He looks like a fucking monster.
He looked awesome.
Looks very intimidating. A very subtle thing that he did that made him even more intimidating was that AJ turned and looked at him, but Damian didn't. Damian was just staring at Edge the entire time, didn't even acknowledge that AJ was looking at him, so much to the point that AJ was weirded out by it and went, what the fuck? Okay, whatever, I guess. I'll get back to my match. Did not lose eye contact with Edge. He was just cold staring the entire time as if he knew that Edge was going to win no matter what, right? AJ goes in for the phenomenal forearm, midair spear, pins him. The entire time, Damian doesn't blink. He's just out there staring, slight smile on his face, and then he slowly gets in the ring.
They stare down,
and then...
I thought they were going to fight, and then I was like, because we were like, oh, no, they're giving Edge a faction, finally.
Yeah, and Damian bowed, right? He got on one knee.
Yeah, he got on one knee, and then Edge got down on one knee, and then they rose, and they smiled.
And then they both rose their hands, and we were like, holy shit, they're going to do a faction.
If they are in fact doing a faction, A, what do they call it? B, there's got to be at least one other guy. Because it's not a faction with two dudes. I think they're doing something very similar to the House of Black.
You think so?
I think so.
Well, if you want to stick with the lawyer theme, it would be something Justice. I don't know.
So, bear with me. So they have the Hall of Fame veteran, the guy who's clearly the mouthpiece of this group.
Oh yeah, you're not going to have Damian Priest speak for Edge.
Okay. And then they have the now guy, who's Damian Priest.
Yeah.
The guy who they're priming for the main event right now. This is the same makeup as Evolution, right? So Triple H was the now guy, Ric Flair was the Hall of Famer. And then the guy that was the readiest for the main event was Batista, and the future was Randy Orton. Okay? With this group, Edge is the Hall of Famer, he's the guy who's guiding, he's the cult leader, if you will. Damian Priest is the guy that's ready now for the US title. I think they bring someone up from NXT, and I don't know who that person should be.
What if it's Braun Breaker? I don't want it to be
Braun Breaker. No.
I said that as a joke. I don't want it to be Braun Breaker.
I'm worried. I'd be fine with this, but I'm worried about it because he literally just got a new gimmick in NXT. I'm worried that it'll be Von Wagner. But the one guy who it should be...
Cameron Grimes?
You could either do Cameron Grimes, but he just won the title, so it's not going to be him.
Yeah.
Tommaso Ciampa.
Ooh. What am I even saying? Yeah, Ciampa would work. That's what I want. Nope. No one else from NXT would work, I don't think.
Yeah. So... I think that group would just be awesome.
No, it would be.
Then they could make an excuse for changing Tommaso Ciampa on the main roster. Because as long as he's with Edge, he'll be fine. They won't do anything to fuck him up. Damian Priest, it's a good thing he's with Edge. I don't know if they would have Edge go after Roman again. I feel like they would just kind of have... Because then you can do a tag team for RK Bro. You could have Ciampa and Priest win the tag titles. And you could have Edge fucking win the US title or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't think he should ever hold a world title again, but...
This was... I gave this match 10 out of 10.
Oh, yeah. I think it was a perfect match.
There was literally nothing wrong with this match. This was a perfect, brutal, I'm trying to kill you, and so am I. And then they set up for Steph in the future. Perfect match.
Yeah, but I mean...
If I had to nitpick and pick a flaw, the only thing would be that AJ was bleeding before the match. But there's nothing wrong with this match.
Yeah, I mean, comment down below and let me know what you think about that. If you watched NXT Stand and Deliver, it was clearly Ciampa's last NXT match.
Yeah.
He's done with NXT. I think that's perfect, because the Psycho Killer with Edge, like if he brings the Psycho Killer character, the only thing is like, well, he doesn't need to be with Edge. Like he's totally fine by himself. But I think that would help Priest out so much.
You have the Dark Priest, you have the Psycho Killer, all with Edge. That all just sounds
Yeah,
good.
that'd be amazing.
What was not amazing was the next match, which was the New Day versus Butch Sheamus, or Sheamus and Ridge Holland with Butch.
Okay, I have a lot to say.
Okay.
I love Pete Dunne.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say something incredibly controversial. I think I like Butch. Here is why.
Do you like the name, though?
I don't like the name, but honestly, I don't care because I love Pete Dunne and I know he's great.
Yeah.
Pete Dunne, the bruiserweight, right, in NXT, he was a violent professional wrestler, great technical wrestler. The way that they presented him on the main roster is just like, he just wants to fight everybody all the time, and Sheamus constantly has to like hold him back.
They present him as if
He's the angry paperboy.
He's like that angry chihuahua that barks at everything that moves.
Yeah.
Everything that moves, he wants it to die, and Sheamus has to constantly hold him back and be like, no, don't,
Yeah.
Butch, don't kill them. Don't. It's not your match.
So when Sheamus debuted him on SmackDown as Butch, I laughed and I was like, oh my god, this is going to be terrible. I am no longer of that opinion. I think he has the best gimmick currently going in WWE. He doesn't say a thing, and he just wants to. He just fights people. That's all he does. When he came out with Sheamus and
It's
Ridge,
not even that he wants to fight people that makes it so good for me.
Yeah.
It's that he so desperately wants to fight people, and Sheamus never lets
Yeah.
him. Sheamus is always just dragging him around like a fucking chihuahua. It's awesome.
It's like that dog that's like on raging hormones that just wants to hump your leg, and that's all that he does. But change the humping with fighting. When he came out with Ridge and Sheamus, he straight up looked like he just ripped like 3 lines of coke off a stripper's ass backstage, and just started. He was like punching himself in the face, punching everybody. Yeah, let's go! And then he was the first one to go down to the ring.
He's not even competing.
He's not even competing. It was amazing.
No, he was definitely the hype. Actually, that's not even true because
He wasn't even the hype man. He was.
well, no, I was gonna say that he was not the best part of the match, right? The New Day, the New Day,
was ring gear.
The New Day came out wearing Big E ring gear. They were all wearing smaller versions of Big E's singlet that all had his colors on it, which was very nice.
And
very sweet.
the specific singlet they were wearing was the singlet that he wore when he won the WWE Championship.
The second that they hopped in the ring, the fighting began immediately among all 3 of them.
I didn't even think this was a bad match. I'm just pissed that the New Day lost because I thought they were gonna they dedicated this to Big E. Why the fuck
They
wouldn't
lost,
you make them
and they
win?
lost in like 6 minutes or something.
Yeah, I didn't. It wasn't bad. It was actually really good.
No, it was good.
Yeah.
But it was way too short in the New Day loss. So like you said, it's like I'm not gonna give a good.
I think the whole reason that this match was short was because of time constraints. Because it was supposed to be on last night, but they cut it last night for time constraints because I think the KO show went way too long.
It did go way too long.
And then they put it on tonight's show, and because they put it on tonight's show, they cut the main event short. That's just my. This is all speculation on my part. I don't know if that's exactly what happened. That's what they felt like it happened.
Yeah.
The match was really great. Xavier Woods got absolutely jacked.
I was gonna say Woods has spent his time off very well.
Yeah.
Dude really wants to be a world champion. You can tell. Not only that Xavier Woods might have thrown the best super kick that I've ever seen tonight.
Yeah, I think if you're before we talk about anything else, yeah, you can talk about your super kick real quick. I thought when he smacked his leg, you didn't see the leg smack, but you heard it.
That's what I'm saying. That's what made the super kick so damn good. Is you heard that bam.
And Ridge Holland sold it like a. Was it Ridge?
It was Ridge, yeah.
Yeah, it was Ridge Holland. Obviously, Xavier Woods is one of the most genuine baby faces in the company right now.
Yes.
Kofi Kingston is also one of the most genuine baby faces in the company right now.
Yes.
Drew McIntyre is very clearly the next guy that they're going up with Roman because they've teased it. After Roman Reigns beats Drew, I think it will be very refreshing to see Xavier Woods go after the Universal Championship.
It would be a nice twist.
Yeah. First of all, he's on SmackDown. It doesn't matter anymore because the champion goes to both shows.
That's right.
Second of all, he freaking deserves it. And I'm kind of tired of seeing... I think Roman's best matches have been with guys that are smaller than he is.
Yeah, Montez Ford, Finn Balor, Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, because he can bully him around all he wants. You can get more matches with the Usos and the New Day if you really wanted to do that, which you won't get any complaints from me because those matches are always great. And he could have a match. He could have a match with Kofi Kingston and injured Kofi, or whatever you want to do. Excuse me, I just burped.
Yeah,
but the amount of dedication that Xavier Woods has done with his body shows me that, yeah, he's main event level now. I think
he's always been main event level. I love his finisher, the limit break elbow. I think that everything about him is awesome.
Yeah, you either make him go after Roman next, or you make him beat Ricochet for the Intercontinental title.
Either way, he deserves a belt.
Yeah.
That being said, though, as I said, this match was way too short. I didn't understand the finish, and for those reasons, I'm giving it a high 6 out of 10. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not going to go back and rewatch this match.
It's a very...
If anything, I'll go back and I'll solely focus on Butch. I'm not going to go back and focus on
Yeah,
the match.
you know, Pete Dunne was the best part of this match.
Yeah.
And I would also give it a similar score. I liked it slightly more than you.
Yeah.
I thought the match, for what it was great. A lot of action.
All I can say,
the storyline was kind of weird
it's
going
just,
into
to me it's like how bad does that feel to get a match on WrestleMania and the most that they can give you is fucking 8. That's highballing it. It might have been 6 minutes, honestly, right? Like, and that's all that you get for your match.
Well, I mean, shit, it was definitely cut short for time. Yeah. And I don't know why the New Day lost. The New Day, well, I can tell you why the New Day lost because they're going to continue the feud.
Yeah. That
is why. But, I mean, I don't think the New Day's ever won at WrestleMania before, have they?
I don't know. It's been a while, I think.
And especially when they were clearly dedicating the match to Big E. Ridge Holland, the guy who broke Big E's neck, is the guy that pinned Xavier Woods or Kofi Kingston to win this match. Whichever one he pinned.
That doesn't make me mad.
That doesn't make me mad. I'm mad the New Day lost.
If they want... My only concern is how long is it going to take for Big E's neck to heal? Because as you say, right, the only reason to continue this feud would be if Big E was coming back soon, so then they could do a 3-on-3 match. But he broke his fucking neck.
Yeah, he's not coming back anytime soon.
Not only is he not going to be back soon, but I don't want to see him back for a long time because I want to make sure that he's actually fully healed. So
maybe they pair Gable Steveson with the New Day.
There's no way that you keep this feud going for another year. I pray to God it doesn't go on for another 3 months, right? Let alone a year.
Super easy. All you got to do is have a one-off, sign Will Hobbs, and he can just fill in for Big E for like a match, and then you'll be fine, right? But make the powerhouse join the New Day.
A man can dream.
I love Will Hobbs. All right.
Speaking of dreaming, the final Undertaker goodbye.
We both thought he was going to get jumped by the Fiend.
Well, because it made no sense. I was like, well, like they already did the farewell last night. Why are they doing it again, but only slightly more awkward, right?
Yeah,
but
it was awkward.
Not much to be said about it, but it was really awkward because like they played his theme for the full 5 minutes of him just like standing in the middle, and then he walks completely to the left side of the ring and the left side of the stage, the set piece, and just dead silence. Walks back to the middle, and then they cue his theme again. Walks to the right side, and then comes back, and we're like, and you and me were looking at each other like, is he gonna get jumped? Like, what the fuck is happening, right?
Yeah.
And it was awkward, but then they made it a little bit better because they had a really cool shot where Undertaker turned around, walked away, stopped, did like the badass look over your shoulder pose that Roman always does, and then he mouthed the word "thank you," and then he turned back and he walked away.
Yeah,
which was cool.
I'm glad that they gave him a final send off in Texas like this. I mean.
Yeah.
Will he have another match again? I don't know.
I fucking hope not.
If he has another match, it's got to be a cinematic match like the Boneyard match, and it has to be against Bray Wyatt. A Firefly Boneyard match. That's what it needs to be.
Yeah.
Like, it starts off as a Firefly Funhouse match, but the Undertaker can use his powers in there too. Like, fuck it.
That would be interesting. Like Bray making fun of the Undertaker's career, and then the Undertaker's like,
and then the Undertaker like sits up, tears a hole in the fourth wall, and then they're in a Boneyard match.
And then you see fucking Husky Harris and all of Bray's bad all of the horrible shit from his career too. Like how Bray did to John Cena, right? Making fun of his shit.
Yeah.
Pulls back the curtain and you see clips of Husky getting whipped by CM Punk and all this other horrible, or Wade Barrett, was it?
No, it was Punk.
Yeah, by Punk and all this horrible shit. That would be cool. Yeah, weird segment, but I'm an Undertaker shill. I don't care.
Yeah, we both made the Undertaker's gong our notification noise on our phone.
Correction, I tried to make the gong, but it doesn't.
Right.
It's my ringtone. It's not my text notification. Yeah. Next match is Austin Theory versus Pat McAfee.
This was amazing.
I will start off this section by saying that Austin Theory is a huge piece of shit, and I love him for it. He is the big. I don't know.
They got to be so high on Austin Theory right now.
To me, it's kind of like Logan Paul. It's kind of like Logan Paul's character mixed with the fact that like my dad's rich and I can hide behind him. Right? It's such a scumbaggy like ooh, I want to punch your dumb little face and kind of character. Like you want to punch him in the face, but like
he's great.
He's so good at it. Austin, WWE is so fucking high on Austin Theory that they had Vince McMahon not only come out to the side of the ring and watch his protege watch the match, but before the match even started, Vince McMahon...
They did the Drew McIntyre thing.
Vince McMahon personally called him to the ring by saying one day he will be your new Universal Champion. And when Vince McMahon puts the idea in the viewer's head that this is going to happen, it's going to happen at some point, right?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, Austin Theory's fantastic. I think that he's the next John Cena.
Oh, yeah.
Austin Theory's so good, man.
There are a handful of guys, I keep going back to this, there are a handful of guys that you could have beat Roman and 100% be good with it. Braun Breaker, Cody Rhodes, Austin Theory. Those are the only three, and they all have to be baby faces. And that would just catapult the next level of WWE.
Austin Theory, Bianca Belair, Braun Breaker, these three are the future. They are the new future faces of WWE.
I would even throw Damian Priest in with that. I think Damian Priest is awesome and very underrated.
Well, I only got glimpses of that tonight. Before tonight, he was a joke for the last 4 months. So forgive me for forgetting, but yeah.
So, Pat McAfee came out to Seven Nation Army
with the Dallas Cowboy
cheerleaders,
and he punted a football into the crowd.
This match felt so huge.
Mm-hmm.
And every single person in this arena or stadium went batshit crazy for Pat McAfee.
They were pretty much throughout the entire match. They were singing the whoa, how does it go? The chorus to Seven Nation. Yeah, except they were singing whoa. Like whenever they wanted to rally Pat, everybody in the entire ring would sing it. And they did a really awesome promo before that I think got the crowd really buying into Pat, where they showed Pat's entire They showed his entire rise to power, where he was him in the NFL.
Yeah,
and then he says, "But you know, that was never my dream. My dream was still always WWE. So the second that I retired from the NFL, I started training for 4 years, and I was waiting, and then I finally got my opportunity, right? And I feel like that really helped the fans buy into him. And this is his moment. We need to help him, right?
I don't want to see Pat McAfee as a every week wrestler.
I wrote that down too because I said I don't know if I want to see him as a full-time wrestler because I love him so much on commentary.
He 100% could do it, and if he does do it, he will be the best promo on TV.
Mm-hmm.
Better than MJF, better than CM Punk.
I wouldn't go that far.
No. Trust me. Okay. He is that good. Because Adam Cole is great on the stick.
Yeah,
he's great. All right. When he showed up in NXT 2 years ago to have that rivalry with Adam Cole, number one, he was the most entertaining part of all of wrestling, not just WWE. And two, he embarrassed everybody in the entire company on the stick. Yeah, that's how good he was.
No, Austin Theory,
and you haven't seen him try to get heat yet. He is amazing.
Austin Theory is so good at talking that during this match there was a segment where he was beating up Austin Theory.
Oh no, you mean Pat McAfee? You said Austin Theory.
Yeah, Pat McAfee is so good at talking that there was a segment where he was banging Austin Theory's head into the announcer table while he himself had like put a headset on and he was
calling commentary for his own match.
He was calling commentary and talking trash and beating Austin Theory's face into the table all at the exact same time. Like it was nothing to him, right? And the whole time Vince is like 2 feet away in his little rolling chair just watching the whole thing happen.
Yeah, so if the Logan Paul match was a very good wrestling match, like you were impressed with his skill and everything. Like I already seen a Pat McAfee match before. You haven't.
Yeah.
So, I mean, were you impressed with his in-ring ability? Yeah, he's really good. He's very athletic.
The vertical on Pat McAfee, his ability to be able to it wasn't even like he was struggling either, right? He did a perfect jump from the
He did a perfect moonsault off the top rope, and then
like I was gonna say like usually when you're working out and you do a box jump, right? Like a lot of people can reach that top box, but like they'll reach it and then their knees will stay bent for a good few seconds as they try to balance themselves. Pat just bounces from the ring itself to the top rope and then is immediately straight up. Like it's not even a challenge for him.
Yeah.
He can the dude's legs are so fucking strong. Like he's
it's almost like he's an NFL athlete.
Almost like he was a punter, right? Yeah. Dude is amazing. Yeah, the match against Austin was very good.
The match was really good. I think this was obviously it was a crowd pleaser. But the main difference between this match and the Logan Paul match were how they worked the crowd. You saw expert levels of a celebrity working the crowd as a heel, and then you saw expert levels of a celebrity working the crowd as a babyface. He milked everything. And it was so good to see because you rarely see that in wrestling nowadays. The crowd's going to determine what we're going to do next type of shit.
Yeah.
But anyway, Pat McAfee beats Austin Theory with a roll-up.
Yes.
And then he starts talking trash to Vince McMahon.
Before you even get into that, though, the crowd pop for Pat McAfee when he won the match was really, really loud.
Oh, yeah.
Crowd was so fucking happy for him.
I've never seen this many people I've never seen the crowd this into a celebrity match.
I was gonna say, right, you clearly have not watched the Daniel Bryan WrestleMania 30 celebration, right? But for a celebrity match, I would agree. Yeah, they were so into the celebrity winning.
Yeah,
because we've spent the last 2 years loving him on commentary, and people know him from NXT.
Yeah, and
people watch his talk show. Like we respect him. He's not just some B-list celebrity who comes in, right? But he starts trash talking Vince McMahon the whole time, saying like, you know what, that wasn't enough. I want two wins. And Vince is so good at playing the audience because he faked the audience out probably 3 times where he was like, you want me? You want me? Nah. Okay, maybe. Unbuttons one button. No, you know what? Now that I think about it, it's not worth it.
Starts walking back. Yeah.
You know what? Takes off the blazer, walks away one final time before finally taking off the shirt. He's wearing the muscle shirt, and then he finally gets in the ring, and we get an impromptu, quote-unquote, match against Pat McAfee.
I know you were talking shit the entire time. You didn't like it. I loved every second of this.
So here's the thing, right? This match only lasted, like, maybe 3 minutes, right? Like,
it's fine.
So, like, I'm not gonna... I don't... Like, if you want to have Austin Theory cheating Pat McAfee and that's why he's getting hurt, that's fine. It makes no sense why Pat McAfee... First off, Pat McAfee didn't even get clotheslined by Vince McMahon. Vince just held up his arm. And then Pat McAfee would run into the arm and then get fucking bumped by that, all while Vince was not phased in the He's an 80-year-old man who's just holding his arm out. What?
If you're totally fine with Steve Austin having a match with Kevin Owens and beating him in the main event of WrestleMania, but you're pissed off at Vince McMahon beating a not active wrestler.
I'm not pissed off I am not pissed off that he beat... I'm saying I'm pissed off that Pat McAfee was taking bumps from running into a clothesline from an 80-year-old man, making it look like Vince was beating him up.
See, that wasn't the point of the match. The point of the match was to have Steve Austin come out and stun everybody. That was the end goal. That was the point.
I understand, but you don't have to book it to make it look like Vince McMahon is just beating the shit out of Pat
Well, he's
McAfee.
old. He's old and he can hardly move anymore. It's the same thing like when Jake Roberts does his slingshot clothesline in AEW.
You didn't need to have... Like I said, you could have just had Austin jump him, beat him up, and then Vince joins in and doing moves on a tired McAfee. It doesn't make sense for a hyped up McAfee to immediately start taking bumps from clotheslines from an 80-year-old man.
I agree with your logic. I think it was more than that. I think the whole point of this was to have Vince go out with Steve.
Like I said, the actual match itself, whatever. It was 3 minutes. I thought it was stupid, but I like you said, that wasn't the whole point of it. Everybody knew that Austin was going to fucking come out, right? There's no point in burying McAfee. He's Vince McMahon, right? You need Austin to come out, and he did.
I'm just so happy that I got to see Vince in the muscle shirt.
Austin came out, and Austin Theory sold When Austin Theory took that stunner, he bounced in the air probably 15 feet.
Yeah.
Best stunner still that I have ever seen. Dude fucking flew, and it was awesome. And then Stone Cold Steve Austin got a few beers. Has Vince ever actually like drunk the beers on TV before? Or is this the first time?
So he's drank them, but he never because he always used cheap beer. He never used and the beer that they used tonight was his new beer that just came out.
I thought it was so funny because like the whole time Vince was terrified. He's like, "All right, are we cool? Are we cool?" And Austin's like, "Yeah, man, we're cool. Don't worry." I should specify Stone Cold. So the whole time Stone Cold's like, "Yeah, man, we're cool. Don't worry, man, we're cool. Here's a beer." And then Vince takes like the tiniest little baby sip of the foam of beer that he possibly can, smacks his lips. It's good. And then Stone Cold stunners him, and the stunner was botched so bad.
Yeah.
But Stone Cold's reaction was so funny that I didn't even care about the botch, right? He went to stunner him, Vince like slipped, he chased him down and stunnered him, and when I say stunnered him, I mean went for the stunner, and then Vince's head slid off of Stone Cold's back, and then Austin just kind of fell with him, and then Austin got up and he was laughing
he was laughing his ass off.
He was laughing so hard, and yeah, that made the botch all the better, right? It was just funny.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the future of the company, because I feel like it's apropos to talk about that right now.
Okay.
First, the wrestlers. I think the next obvious face of the company is Austin Theory. Braun Breaker should be in that conversation too. Don't get me wrong. I do think he's ready for the main roster, and I think he should come up to the main roster tomorrow night. Or tonight.
Oh yeah, it's 1 in the morning.
It's 1 in the morning. So I think he should show up on Monday Night Raw tonight. But I told you right after this match, I'm like, mark my words. 5 years from now, the main event of WrestleMania will be Austin Theory versus MJF. I am fully convinced that MJF is going to come to WWE, and as soon as they get him, they are going to put him in the main event against a homegrown babyface talent, which will be Austin Theory.
I won't say that I'm convinced that MJF will come to
100%.
WWE, but I could see it happening.
100% he's coming to WWE. Especially if Cody can cut a free-range promo tomorrow night, he's coming to WWE.
I think that Cody Rhodes needs to open up the show tomorrow night.
He's definitely going to be on
Raw. It's either going to be Roman or Cody. It can't be anyone else.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But let's talk a little bit about Vince. I think the entire point of this segment, and you said it, well, maybe Vince is going away.
I gotta give credit where credit's due. I didn't think of this. My friend who doesn't even watch wrestling, right, which I thought was interesting. He said, I'm reading a lot in the marketing, right? They keep on calling it stupendous, the biggest ever, the Roman Brock match. They're calling it the biggest WrestleMania match of all time. Everywhere you go, they are driving the point in that this is the biggest Mania ever, biggest everything. It's stupendous. It's amazing. And the whole feel of it is very happy. There's a lot of callbacks with Stone Cold being there. There's a lot of callbacks, so much so that they called back to the most famous WrestleMania or WWE feud of all time, Vince and Stone Cold. Vince got in the ring and wrestled one last time, right? A lot of callbacks, a lot of this is the biggest ever. And he asked me, what if they're getting ready to sell the company and this is their last hurrah? This is them giving it their all before they sell the company to somebody. And I didn't agree with it or disagree. I think that it's
something to think about.
It's an interesting take, yeah.
My opinion stands. I think just the fact that Triple H came out and put his boots in the ring. It means he's done with active competition. Everybody knew that before, but that was a swan song for him. But I am fully convinced that Vince is going out with Austin, and he's not going to be in charge of WWE in the near future. Whether he sells or not, I think Triple H is still going to be in charge of the show because it makes the most sense. And you could say all you want. He fired a whole bunch of wrestlers. We've had this argument before. He fired a whole bunch of wrestlers, fired Triple H. Well, now we know he didn't fire Triple H. Triple H was on his deathbed and couldn't come to work. So he replaced him with other people. And I think the plan was always to have Stephanie and Hunter could take over the company after Vince is done.
Which I hope happens, yeah.
I hope it happens, and I think it would be better for wrestling in general. Yeah. But if there's any point that Vince says, I'm done, I think tonight would be...
Tonight
would be the night.
Yeah, regardless of if they're doing all this because they want to sell the company or not. The marketing for the show and all the callbacks and the final Vince moment, right? That was all a fantastic way for Vince to go. If this was the last time that we see him in the company, right?
Yeah, and if they do that, then it gives me high hopes because then there's no more brand split. You can fill 3 hours on Raw if you really wanted to but then it makes SmackDown kind of less appealing.
Yeah.
So what they can do is, if Vince is done, what they can do is have the first 2 hours of Raw be the show Raw, and the third hour are just clips from Vince's WWE. Just like old school Attitude Era, Ruthless Aggression matches, pay-per-view, all that kind of shit. And then I think that would fix a lot of what's wrong with the show. And it would make money for the show because people would still stick around to watch that kind of stuff.
I'd agree. Yeah.
But I mean, if there's any time for Vince to hang it up, it would be now. Because I think this will be ending on a very high note.
This was a very happy, very, very, very celebratory, very, very look at all that we've accomplished together. Look at what I've created kind of moment that is that's happy and not somber. And I think it's a good note to go out on.
Yeah.
Speaking of a somber note to go out on, the main event. I was very upset that they did not have the children's choir for Roman Reigns. If you listen to our Night One review, we said that we wanted a children's choir to be singing the intro part to Roman's theme, and then we wanted Roman to turn around, and the second that he turns around, all the kids, we would snap into a fucking bow to him, right? Yeah. When the harpsichord plays. That would have been fucking awesome, but whatever. They didn't do that, right? That was just wishful thinking on our part. But anyways, yeah, the match itself. Oh shit! I dropped my phone. I was making the thumbnail for this part of the match, so I didn't catch the first 5 minutes.
I thought the main event was so you hear this term quite a bit, big fight feel. Yeah. Big fight feel when Roman faced Cena. I think it was a bigger fight feel when he faced Edge at Money in the Bank. That's just my personal opinion. The match felt bigger to me for some reason.
Like I said back in our Revolution review where we listed our top 10 matches, it was very hard choosing between Seth and Roman and Edge and Roman because Edge and Roman it was a huge fucking fight. That match was epic as hell.
This, in my experience, and don't get me wrong, I love The Rock and Stone Cold. I loved the main event last year, and Rock Cena, like it really doesn't get much bigger than that, but. To me, this is the biggest fight feel I've ever experienced at a WrestleMania. I want you to... Whether it was the crowd that made it feel that way, the commentators, the way that they put it over, the pyro, the spectacle, I don't know. Because they faced each other 3 times this year, right?
Yes. They faced each other once at Saudi? Once at Crown Jewel?
Or maybe this was the 3rd time?
SummerSlam? No,
SummerSlam was Cena. And then the next pay-per-view was Crown Jewel. Yeah, they faced each other there.
They faced each other 3 times. First time Roman cheated. Second time he got COVID, so no, that's right. It was
the second time was supposed to be at day 1, but then they didn't do it.
They got COVID.
Yeah,
here he got COVID. That's right. So it was only twice.
It was only twice. This was the rematch.
So like you said, right? This had the biggest fight feel. This
had the biggest fight.
I want you to hold on to that feeling. Really hold on to it deeply and tightly, right? As I say the things that I'm about to say.
Yeah.
This match lasted 15 minutes. Strike 1. This match ended on, I'm going to call it a botch. I'm honestly going to call it a botch, wherein which they were trying to sell the idea that Roman Reigns' shoulder was dislocated, right? And then they did not sell it at all, right? And Strike 3, immediately after bringing up the idea that Roman Reigns' shoulder was dislocated, they immediately end the match in a very abrupt way that does not make sense for Brock's character at all, right?
Yeah.
Or for Roman's character at all, right?
So when I say biggest fight feel, I'm talking about the intro when they're announcing before they even lock up. Right, the only big fight feel match I ever experienced in AEW was the Kenny Omega Bryan Danielson match because before they even locked up, the people were chanting, "This is awesome."
I'd say that
same fight feel.
I'd say that Adam Page versus Kenny also had that big fight feel.
It had the big fight feel, but it didn't feel as big as this.
Not the actual match. Yeah, I guess.
You know what I mean? And that match didn't feel as big as Omega, and you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I will agree with you. This match is not a perfect match.
Here's the I would not
go
be
ahead.
I would not be as disappointed with this match as I ended up being if they had not hyped me up so much, right? Like I said, right? They have tried selling this idea for the past 3 months. They officially not only did they label this match the biggest WrestleMania match of all time, they had the ring announcer say it. This is the
What is?
They had the ring announcer say this is the biggest WrestleMania match of all time, and it's like, okay, then why did it not feel like it? Why was this just finisher? Okay, now the ref's down. I'll get a cheap shot in. Oh, my shoulder's dislocated, and then somehow my finisher, while I have my shoulder dislocated, ends the match in 15 minutes. If this is the biggest match of all time, it didn't feel like it. It felt like a very abrupt, very rushed.
So I'm not going to make
product.
excuses.
Yeah.
Outside of this match, you could say like the biggest match of all time was Survivor Series when Brock faced Goldberg, when Goldberg came back.
Yeah.
That is huge fight fuel. Match was over in 90 seconds.
Yeah.
And I loved everything about that. A lot of people hated. I loved everything about it. I thought it was perfection. I'm not trying to make excuses for this personal match. But if they wouldn't have had The Undertaker come out again tonight, and they wouldn't have had the New Day match tonight, this match would have been a 20-minute match.
Yeah.
Which would have been fine.
What
I am absurdly tired of the Brock Lesnar matches that we've been accustomed to seeing lately.
Finisher.
I was so mad when he faced Lashley and they didn't have a slugfest MMA type wrestling match. I was so mad about that. And I thought for sure, it's the main event of WrestleMania. They're going to go ham. They're going to pull out all the stops. Brock Lesnar's going to pull out the shooting star press, and then he's going to lose, and then he's going to retire. I don't want to see Brock Lesnar wrestle ever again.
Yeah.
And I love Brock Lesnar. He's first ballot Hall of Famer, one of the greatest to ever lace up a pair of boots.
Yeah.
Most underrated seller in the history of wrestling.
He has tremendous ring psychology.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the guy knows his worth, and he brings that legitimacy, that big fight feel to every match that he's in. But I was so upset when, like, Roman speared him 5 times.
Yes.
That makes Roman look like a bitch.
It's like I told you, right? Power scaling is. I talk about it in every fucking wrestling show, and I'll stand by it. I'll stand by it until the end of time. Power scaling is everything, and making me believe that a wrestler is actually a dominant athlete, right? Keep in mind, the Roman Reigns Edge match was 41 minutes. 41 minutes, and Roman had to fucking cheap win his way out of it. He had to guillotine choke.
The Cesaro match was long.
The Cesaro match was 30 minutes, and he had to guillotine. Every match leading up to this, with the exception of like John Cena and
this
like,
wasn't his worst title defense because the Fiend was worse.
This was not his worst title defense. I'm simply saying that all of his other matches, for the most part, Roman has had to either cheat or cheaply win with the guillotine choke, right? Which is fine for his character.
Yeah.
So when you show him not only cleanly beat Brock Lesnar in 15 minutes, but do it with a supposed dislocated shoulder, you like that now tells me in my head, oh, that means that Cesaro and that means that fucking Cesaro, Edge, Finn Balor, and every other person that he's had to cheaply beat are somehow better than Brock Lesnar because Roman was able to cleanly beat Brock Lesnar, but not them. So that stands to reason that they could also beat Brock Lesnar then.
So I'm convinced they shortened this due to time constraints. If they would have had the time, I thought... Now, I know what I said earlier on about I'm tired of Brock Lesnar matches. If the finish would have been different, I'm going to propose this. Just sit back and listen to this real quick.
Okay.
So Roman spears him 5 times, and then his shoulder gets dislocated. And then Brock...
It got dislocated because Brock had him in the Kimura.
Yeah, he had him in the Kimura, whatever you want to say. All right, so Brock Lesnar seizes the moment, picks him up just barely because his ribcage hurts so bad from being speared, and then gives him one last F5, and instead of pinning him, he goes up to the top rope, hits a shooting star press, hits it, and because Roman speared him 5 times, his midsection is destroyed, and hitting the shooting star press, his midsection hurts. So he's there flopping around like Montez Ford after he hits a frog splash. And while he's on the ground, Roman takes his dislocated arm, throws it around Brock's neck, and then literally with his dislocated arm, chokes him out with the guillotine. That would have, made Brock Lesnar look like a freaking boss because it literally took him diving off a top rope to even do anything to Roman Reigns.
I would only add one thing to that. I think that that's a brilliant idea. Only thing that I would have done, and I suggested it right. So the series of events was Brock has him in the Kimura for a long time.
Yeah.
You see the arm get wrenched back. The announcers say it's dislocated. Roman says to Paul, it's done. It's done. I can't move it. And Paul's begging with him, right? And then what happened was immediately after saying that, Roman hits the spear with the shoulder, pins him and wins. And then it doesn't seem like the shoulder hurts at all. What should have happened was Roman spears him. But hitting that spear with a dislocated shoulder hurts him so fucking bad
that he can't pin him.
He can't pin him. He's writhing on the ground in pain. They're both on the ground for a minute, and then what you said happens. That would have been the perfect way to end it.
And then if the end note is Brock Lesnar passing out, you protect Brock Lesnar because you should never tap out.
Yeah.
Even though tapping out doesn't make you a bitch because he fought in the UFC and tapped out in his first fight. But if the end goal is to have Roman be this monster, having him choke out Brock Lesnar with his dislocated shoulder, and he is screaming his balls off because it hurts so fucking bad.
Yeah.
And then he can't even hold up both belts because his shoulder's dislocated. Or like after the match he gets up and then fucking does that the Shayna Baszler thing and puts it back in his socket, resets it just to hold up 2 titles above Brock Lesnar's fucking face.
Yeah.
That would have been sick. Or they could have done that. Brock Lesnar passes out. He doesn't let the ref call the match, rolls him over, and then puts 1 foot over his chest and pins him that way. That's how I would have booked the match. And I think they honestly probably would have went for something very close to that
if they didn't have
the time constraints. Because why else? You tell me. Why else would you have Roman Reigns spear Brock Lesnar 5 times when he's beaten him with like 1 spear before?
Yeah. Why
the hell would you have Roman Reigns' arm come out of his socket
to not
do anything with that? Because like obviously it's smart on Brock Lesnar's part because he can't use the guillotine if he does that. Well, Roman Reigns has shown like he beat Daniel Bryan by using his non-dominant arm to do the guillotine.
Yeah.
But he can't do that with Brock Lesnar because his arm's too thick. So I think that would have been. That honestly probably would have been the greatest conclusion to a WrestleMania of all time.
If what we said happened.
If what we said happened.
But that's not what happened. Yeah. They bring up the idea that his shoulder is dislocated, and then less than 20 seconds later, the match is over because Roman speared him 1 more time.
Yeah.
And when that happened, I'm pretty sure I stood up and I said, "What? Wait, it's over?" And you and me were looking and like. You weren't as upset as I was, but I was waiting for something to happen. I was like, no, it doesn't end that way. It doesn't end that way. Something's wrong, right? He cheated and the ref's gonna restart it, but no.
It was by no means a bad match. I was definitely satisfied with the conclusion because Roman Reigns is the undisputed Universal Champion, and that's what we wanted. Yeah. And it had that big fight feel with Paul Heyman introducing Roman and then Brock Lesnar introducing himself. Like it felt huge, and this is the biggest WrestleMania main event of all time because there has never been a title unification match in the main event of WrestleMania.
I just thought of something. A big selling point for this match was blood for blood. I want your blood, Roman.
Yeah, there was no blood.
I'm coming for blood, not a single drop of blood the entire match.
Yeah, well, that's because WWE is PG and they can't do blood. But
just something I noticed, yeah.
Yeah, and for those of you who would get in the comment section and say, well, what about the main event of WrestleMania 35 with the women's titles? Well, that wasn't a title unification match. Becky just won both of them and then lost one.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a unification. Unification means they're now one championship. So does Roman retire the WWE Championship or does he retire the Universal Championship?
It's the Universal one. Yeah, he would have to.
I don't know. Hopefully we get a new belt.
Again, what he needs to say is he needs to go out there and he needs to say, listen, everybody, we all know it. There's never going to be a Universal Champion that will even be half as good as I am. That's why I'm retiring this belt because right now is the most prestigious that it's ever going to be. I'm doing it for the sake of this title. It's time to make other titles relevant because that's what I do. I make everything relevant. This title is at the peak. Now I'm going to make this one at its peak too.
Yeah.
So that's what
I would prefer if they just make a new title and it's the undisputed WWE Universal Heavyweight Championship. That's what they call it. It's a mouthful, but it sounds cool.
Yeah.
You could call it the undisputed Universal World Heavyweight Championship. Because like when they first came out with the WWE title, they called it the WWE World Heavyweight Championship because that was right after Cena and Orton unified that belt.
Yeah, I would just call it the WWE Universal Heavyweight Champion.
Yeah. I would prefer if they came out with a new belt.
Yeah, I'm tired of the big W.
I'm tired of the big W. They need to bring back something that looks like a fucking championship title.
Not a toy.
Seriously, if I'm not even gonna say AEW. Literally every other wrestling promotion in the world has all of their titles look better than all of WWE's titles because all of WWE's titles look like toys. The only exception being the North American Championship and the UK Championship. That is it.
Yeah.
All of the other ones look like toys. They all have fucking Velcro on them for some reason.
Except for the Universal title.
And you know what? When MVP debuted the new United States Championship, I liked it at first. And then the more I look at it, the more I'm like, that looks like a toy.
It's a big plastic
It's a toy. The IC title was perfect. And then they got rid of it and made it look like some sort of New Japan belt. But it looks like a toy. It's a bad version of that, you know?
It looks the least like a toy, but yeah, not a big. It's not very standoutish. It's like very, very dark yellow gold with a black background. Like you can't see shit on it.
Here's the measuring stick. They haven't put it on the Miz since it's changed. And I think it's because it's gaudy and it looks weird.
Yeah.
Like when Roman had the white strap for the IC title, it made him look like $1 million because it's a prestigious title. Yeah. I can't picture Roman or The Miz with the current Intercontinental Championship.
Who even has it right now? Ricochet.
Yeah, and the fact that we have to think about who's the mid-card champion is a problem. Yeah. But overall,
I'm again right. Yeah. I'm gonna be the negative one here. I have to go with my gut. This was a 7 out of 10 match. Roman Brock. Really disappointing. Again, for a match that they have spent the last 4 months nonstop drilling into your head, biggest of all time, biggest, best, most amazing match of all time, and it was 15 minutes.
I would say it was not Brock or Roman's fault that the match underdelivered.
I'm not blaming any other wrestlers.
No. Let me finish. It was not Brock or Roman's fault that the match underdelivered. It was the company's fault that the match that they hyped up as the only important match at WrestleMania was shortened due to time constraints. They should never let that happen. Yeah. They are in control of all this shit. You could have shaved down the time on AJ Styles versus Edge.
Because that was a very long match.
Yes. You could have not had The Undertaker come out again for 5 minutes. Very simple. You could have cut the New Day from the card. I know it's harsh, but nobody cared about that match anyway. Literally nobody cared about that match.
I'm sorry, what match? It was
the New Day versus...
Oh, yeah. Literally. Yeah.
So, I would say it's you're right. It's like a 7 out of 10.
But that's
but it's not their fault. I think both of these guys could deliver an amazing main event match. And they've done it before.
It's so funny to me that going into Mania, our mindset was, I don't care about anything but the main event and maybe Edge, right?
And everything was great. And the main event was also great.
And everything was great, but that was such a letdown. It's so funny to me, man.
Yeah.
WrestleMania 38 as a whole, I'm going to give it a very high but low 8 out of 10. It's like an 8.9 out of 10 for me, right?
I 100% disagree.
What would you give it?
This is an A+ pay-per-view, dude. This was awesome. From start to finish, there was not a single bad match on this entire WrestleMania. And I know you're looking at me weird because we don't like Omos, but even that match wasn't bad. It wasn't terrible.
All right, fine. You know what?
Every match was great.
I will concede a low 9.
A low 9.
Low 9. That is comfortably where I'm at. Keep in mind, right? WrestleMania 30 is my favorite of all time, and that's only like a 9.5 out of 10 for me because it's not perfect. If it's not perfect, I'm a realist. If it's not perfect, then I'm not giving it a 10 out of 10 because that's what that means. Is that nothing was wrong and it was perfect.
Yeah, the only weak spot of that.
A match can be that. There were a lot of 10 out of 10 matches. There were a lot of 6 out of 10 matches. Looking at it as a whole, yeah, I think that 9 out of 10 is a very good fucking rating for it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm proposing this now. If the listeners want to hear it, we could do not a review of every WrestleMania, but we can make a ranking of every single WrestleMania. Yeah. There might be a little bit of recency bias. I don't know. I'd have to go back and watch WrestleMania X7 again and WrestleMania 30 again and then watch this again. But those are my top 3 right now. WrestleMania 31 was on the list, but I think this is more manageable to watch because It's 2 nights.
Yeah.
So you'd say, oh, it's 2 nights. Every match has time to breathe, and everybody can have a great match. Well, there were time constraints on both nights.
That's true, man.
I think this is definitely the best WrestleMania since WrestleMania 30.
I would agree with that too.
So yeah, very high hopes for Monday Night Raw tomorrow night.
Yes.
Very high hopes for the future of the WWE.
They have a very bright potential.
Yeah, it is 100% on WWE not to fuck up. They can't fuck up Edge. They can't fuck up Cody Rhodes. They can't fuck up Damian Priest, and they for sure can't fuck up Roman Reigns. But everything else, they have a little bit of leeway to figure out what they're gonna do. Bianca Belair is the champion. I'd say take Becky Lynch off of TV and not make her appear for a while because she is cringe and she's horrible to watch and nobody cares. Maybe, if you want my personal opinion, they need to merge all of the title divisions. Next pay-per-view, WrestleMania Backlash, they do Charlotte versus Bianca Belair and put both belts on Bianca. All right, and then you have the Usos versus RK Bro. Usos win the undisputed tag team titles. If you really wanted to merge the mid-card titles, by all means, you cannot have a better mid-card championship match than Ricochet versus Finn Balor. That match would be an all-time great match.
That is true.
And then whoever wins becomes the Intercontinental Champion. Because the U.S. title is meaningless, and it's always been meaningless, except for when Cena held it.
Yes.
But that's what I would want to see from the future of WWE. What about you? What would you like to see immediately following WrestleMania?
I mean, you summed it up, right? My biggest concern is the brand split, and that there's too many championships, and that if you reduce the number of championships, that you automatically make those championships feel more prestigious, and you give all of your wrestlers more things to do. Because rather than having only 2 mid-carders who can feud for a title, you now have a lot. You've now doubled the amount because there's only one title, shared roster.
See, I think they should still have a brand split, but the brand split is between WWE and NXT.
Yeah,
that's how you do the brand split. Yeah. If you still want to do a draft, then you can have people go from NXT up to WWE or WWE down to NXT, because it's worked for Ziggler to make him feel better, and it has worked wonders for Mandy Rose.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much everything I think of from WrestleMania this year.
Same here. Have you kept up with reading The Walking Dead at all by chance?
Have I kept up? No, WrestleMania weekend was everything.
That's what I thought. Yeah. So that's gonna wrap it up for our review of WrestleMania 38. I'm not sure what our next episode's gonna be on because we were planning The Walking Dead, but given that this took up so much of our time, we'll just kind of have to see what comes up at the moment. We do still want to do that.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's the next one or it's in a little bit. Again, it all depends on how fast that you read, man.
Yeah.
I've seen it all, and I'm really curious what your take is on the comic series.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to try and finish it as soon as I possibly can. I don't think this week is going to be super busy for me, so...
Same here, man.
I should be able to... I'm not going to make any promises to say I'm going to be able to finish it by the end of the week, but I'm going to try to.
With that being said, though, I've been Aaron.
I've been Ben.
And we will see you guys in the next episode.